Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're just going to be working on getting the registration page working and working on some components that I've been playing around with recently to try to get them to look good on the site. I can pull up some. There we go. This is I reworked a little bit of the HTML and CSS from last time that I was actually coding live. And I also made it work now in a little bit of a responsive manner. So if I go over here, just inspect the element real quick. And this here. So this is your standard view for non-responsive size page, or a really large page. And then if you shrink it down to here, I flip it up to the top just using CSS grids. Nothing crazy going on there at this moment. The goal here is just to have this side panel or top panel, whatever it is really just going to be kind of the steps that you're going through at the moment in time. So it's going to get a little wonky because I'm going to have a list that goes down the middle of the page. It says, okay, this is the step you're on, step 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you are in this view, I have to make the list go instead of down. I have to flip in that direction. So we're going to kind of play with that right now. And then we'll kind of just move on to some other CSS stuff and see where we get to. All right. So this is the HTML that I have at the moment in time. Really not, a lot going on here at this moment. This is, again, this is the Vue.js code that I have. So, just a simple form field that I have that right now just kind of show, that allows to take the slug. The slug will actually be what's called slugified. So if I type in here, everything looks the same, but then I add a space or anything that shouldn't be there, it gets converted to a dash. So that way it's a nice looking little slug. All right. Let's see now. So the main thing that I want to do, okay, so let's start with actually putting some content in there and then flipping it. I think that'll be the first step. So what are the steps at this moment in time, please? First step is checking if you're slugging. Check your workspace. Yeah, I guess we'll just call it check your workspace. Step 2 is what? It's add your information. Step 3 is pay. So I guess 3 steps. Maybe there'll be a 4th one in there at some point, but I don't know right this moment in time. So now if I go back over to this, there, 1, 2, 3. I want these centered on the page, and I want them bigger than that because they're going to be, I want them to kind of be highlighted at where you are also at the moment in time. So for right now, I'm just going to say, you know what I'll do? I'm going to call this, I'm going to make this a thing. So we'll say, I'll call it step counter. So this is a step counter, and then this is a step, yeah, I'll call this a step counter item. And this one is, yeah, it's fine for right now. Copy this, just drop this into all these 3 things. And where the heck am I putting that? I'm just going to put this for right now in, not a component in the, where's the CSS? Here it is. I just have this register CSS. This is like the registration page is CSS. It's not completely it at this moment in time, obviously. There's more than just this, but and some of these things are going to become components. But until I kind of figure out what the heck those components are and what they're going to be, then I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually just drop them all somewhere else. I'll kind of like play with them and move them around as I go. All right. So This is my CSS for the grid, which again, this grid right now I'm saying is just the Met registration page, but it's probably more pages than that. But for right now, this is fine to be here. A little bit, we'll have to refactor probably in a few days. All right, so step counter. This is I want to make it bigger. And then what? And probably I'll have to space out each one of the listing items on it. So we'll say font size for this will be what? God, I don't even remember my different font sizes that I have. So let's look at that real quick. Basically what I do for everything is I try to have variables. So, or as many just kind of like variables that make sense. So I have a lot of just kind of generic stuff in here. So these are like border radiuses that would make sense. These are my media queries as a list, or a map. This is a map in SAS. You know, different kerning sizes. Okay, yeah, and I changed it. I used to have like font size and like all these just different pixel things, and now what I just have is this px and then whatever the number is. So rem here is a function that just converts pixels to rems. So it's really a simple calculation, but it's just nicer to have it done in here for me than to have to try to like remember it and do it. And it also to get the correct rem calculation, it's math in terms of like you have to know the base font size. So the base font size is 16. So you do, I think, whatever the number is divided by 16, or whatever the base font size happens to be. So this just does that for me. So I think I'm going to make it 20 pixels. Pixels 20. And then we'll say step counter. Items or item. All right, I'll call that item. Would be better sense to do that. Get rid of that. Item is what? Top and bottom is really the only place I want padding, so we'll say px 8 and nothing on the left and right. Refresh, take a look. Okay, good. Now we also need a way of saying, well, what's the current item? So I'm going to add to this current. Yeah, we'll make the font size a little bit bigger, so I'll do 24. Yeah, I'll extend. There's only one thing in there. There we go. Check your workspace is now larger than the other ones. And if I got rid of that, so we can definitely do this programmatically later. And save. I can see. Boop, that got bigger. I think I want to do something else to it too. You know what? Let's change the color. No, it's got to be white, so the other way around. So let's make it 20. And then now I'll make this 40. I think I might flip those. Can't even tell. Is it really even doing anything? Yeah, it's doing it. It's just you can barely see the difference. All right, so let's pick a different color. I'm terrible with picking colors. This is why usually I go with like gray and blue and that's it. Let's make this just white. I think again I gotta look at my default colors here. I think I called it true white. Yeah, so you can see the differences in color here that I have. And I have true white, which it's basically white. By the time you get into 50, that's where it starts to look a little like something different. Or I could just go with one of these other colors. These are just really kind of generic colors that I have right now. I don't really use them for anything other than just I want to have a bunch of different colors in the system. So let's say, let's just do indigo. See how that looks. It looks ugly, but okay. But you can actually see a difference there. All right, so what I can do this. Let's do this. Flip them around. There you go. At least something is there. Here, you know what? Let's do blue 40. I don't like indigo. It's literally the silliest thing to care about right now, since this is not like a finalized design of any sort. But there we go. It also looks a little bit more Link-ish, which I think at some point it may be. I don't know. No, all right. Okay, so color there's good. That looks good. Let's center everything in here. How the heck do I do that? That's got to be done through the grid. So let's go back to here. So, okay, grid template areas. I got that set up. I can't remember the syntax for centering in a grid. So trucks, grid. Guide to grids. There we go. Rows and columns. Got that all taken care of. It's all done in the container side of things, but I don't think it's justify. I think it's, I don't even remember. Grid template. Column gap, row gap, grid column gap. All right, justify along the axis. Okay, so lines grid items along the inline row. That's this way. So that's not what I want. I want this way. So that will be align items. Okay, align items center. That's probably what I want. Assuming for a minute I've done everything. There we go. Oh. All right, that in theory is correct, but I need that whole thing. All right, let's let's look at what that just did there for a minute, and let's fix this. pull up the grid. This is why I love Firefox's grid stuff better. I just click on that button, I can see the grid. I don't know if Chrome has added this yet, but it's very nice. Okay, so the whole grid is 100 VH, right? Ooh, no, I don't have that in there. I think I just need that height. $100. Let's do VH and see what that does. Nothing. All right. Percent. Nope. All right. So not that. I don't want to stretch it. So what if I added to here? There we go. Oh, wait, no. Right. So I centered it, but the I don't need to display names. I don't want that. So the problem is that is the grid. Let's look at this real quick here. So pop this out a little bit more. All right, so it is 100 VH. That's already set in the layout. So that's why when you go over here and you click it, you see that these things are 100%. Form is now centered in there. The aside. Oh. So the problem is that align items. Let's look at this again just to see if I can get this point straight. Correct. So align items is aligning the individual grid columns or grid components or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what you want to call them, like the pieces that go in the grid. So these are now aligned to the center. I need the content inside the grid, these things to be aligned center. So I used, so instead of align items, what? Align content center? Is that gonna work? No, it doesn't do anything. All right, go back to the grid thing. Let's see real quick here. Yeah, okay, so I should have understood what this little box was showing here, that it was basically saying, okay, the stuff inside, the HTML components inside each one of these things is gonna be centered. So that's what it was doing. Place items, the hell is that? No, no. Align content. This. Align content center feels right, but I guess it's not doing what I'm even thinking of it doing. So this is going to take each track or whatever you want to call it. I just want to center something. I mean, at the end of the day, what I could do is make that inside of that thing a flex and then center it. It might be what I have to do. Okay, well, let's look at the individual. Nope, not there. Not there. Grid row, grid column, grid area. Justify self. No. I think what I want here is the fact that I'm inside. So I'll explain it. I could be wrong about this, but what I think is going on here is that I'm working from two different mindsets, and that's, I think, what my problem is here. So I'm thinking about like, oh, I want this content to be centered. Well, the content is, the grid is handling the grid. So that's actually correct right now. This is the way I want it. This is right. I want this content to be centered inside of here, which is something different. It's not part of the grid itself. So, do this real quick. All right, so let's try this instead now. Let's make inside of the aside, a flex box. So I'm just gonna do it here. Display flex. Pick a type. VH. There we go. So I think that's what I actually want to do. So flex the content, 100 VH, and align the item center. Let's go back over to there. All right, so let's do that. Actually, that's going right in here. Nope. Oops. MD. And that should stay the same. Come on. Boy, my system is chugging. There we go. And no. All right, perfect. What did I do? I got that centered. Dad, this is the wrong spot. I always get those two messed up. Oh my god. All right. All right, so that's centered in this view now. That's centered there, so that's what I want. When we drop it down small, I mean, this is okay for now. There needs to be obviously a kind of a different view or a better view for this, but for the moment in time, I think this is okay. All right, go. Test. Click on check. See, it's going to the server. There is something up with OBS and my computer that as soon as I turn on OBS, it just drags everything down to hell with it. Like 20 seconds for a request, that's not real. Redirect response to chat. Okay, so yeah, it threw an error because of something else. But the fact that the request time is taking this long is insane. And that's not the debug bar, that's just the request. Insane. All right. And my camera's frozen. All right, I think I'm gonna have to go offline. I don't got anybody on right this moment in time to try to figure out what the heck is going on with this stuff. Yeah, OBS is just not happy right now. All right, well, if you're watching this later, thanks. And I'm going to try to figure out what the hell I can do about OBS because it's just not happy.